Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 180, recording on Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And the moment you've all been waiting for, and we've delayed again and again, it is time for the top 10 games of 2023. We'll be revealing our respective lists in a year that many consider to be one of the best in gaming history, I would say. And I had some pretty tough cuts, not going to lie, even right before this show. So it was a strong year. We'll see how much overlap there is on the list. How did you guys feel about 2023?
Oh,
very, very good year.
I felt like I had no time to play anything. I must say, I probably completed the lowest amount of games I've ever completed, and I'm a little ashamed of it. My list is pretty sparse with completed games, and even games on here that I haven't even played that long, to be honest. So I did not do much gaming this year, unfortunately.
Hey, we've all been there except for Frank. Yeah, many of my early Game Junk top 10 lists were like, I was lucky if I finished 3 games. So
I will say every game on my list I completed close to 100%.
Where's Jay? We need that hero drop right now.
And 2 of the games that didn't make my list, I spent a combined 120 hours on.
Holy.
So there's some substantial cuts on this list. So
no kidding.
Enough talk. Have at you. Who's going first?
Whoa. I have one other thing I need to mention.
Please, sir.
Let's lay some ground rules.
I just want we kind of talked about this like weeks ago, but I just wanted to bring up the remake issue. So you guys don't have to comment on this if you don't want to. I just wanted to put it out there up front. I don't have any remakes on my list. Partially, it was a conscious choice because I do feel that for the most part, a remake, there's, not to slight the developers of remakes, a lot of hard work goes into them, but the creative element of a remake, you're working with the shell of a previous game, the bones are there. It's not quite the same thing. I don't know if you guys agree with that. But it also was just a really great year, and this was an easy way to cut a few things off my list. So,
I mean, you could make the same argument for a lot of sequels. Definitely have a lot of sequels on our lists that there's a framework that you're adding to or updating. Not quite the same. I know what you're saying. I don't have any remakes on my list. I don't have a problem with including remakes on lists like that. I actually don't know if they would have made my list. I didn't finish them, and that could be because I skewed my November, December playing because I was hoping to prefer original games. So I don't think it's a big deal either way.
I do think that the Final Fantasy VII remake and obviously like that series, that seems like a situation where it's a very different final product. So, I mean, that in my mind wouldn't really be a remake, even though it kind of is, but, and it's literally called Final Fantasy VII Remake. But I don't know. Just putting that out there to discuss in the comments. I don't know. Because I know some people compare it to like movie remakes. But to me, it's like movie remakes. Like you're literally reshooting with new actors. Like you're getting new stuff. Whereas with games, I don't know. There's old code. There's old scripts. There's a design. There's a level design to work from. I mean, a lot of it's there.
I hear you.
I have no problem with it. All video games are valid for my list.
Okay.
My list also has no remakes, though.
All right. Who wants to start us off?
I could do it. I have a few like caveats saying that I already said I didn't finish all my games. Some games I feel are better than probably where they are going to fall on my list, only because I didn't have enough time to really like dive into them, but I can see the potential. It's kind of like a Red Dead Redemption situation where this game has potential. I'm going to put it on my list anyways, because I didn't play enough games to even fill out a list potentially.
We'll call it Red Dead Potential.
Red Dead Potential. Exactly.
New sequel.
Yeah. So like, and should we talk about games we didn't play at the end?
I think
not worry about it.
Yeah, it'll probably come up within the list themselves, I think.
Okay. So my number 10, kind of a surprise entry, is Starfield, which I have recently been playing. Now, I can't say I'm very far into it, but I'm kind of liking, I'm just mainlining the story. Bethesda Games, I'm not a fan of the side questing and searching all over the town and going to kill rats in a sewer or whatever stupid bullshit they send you on to do. So I'm just doing the main story stuff, and I'm actually enjoying the characters that I've met so far. I'm really not very far though, but I kind of like how they've set it up so far with the environments and the ship and the companions you have, and just sort of the mystery around the pieces of metal you find. So I'm gonna put it on the list, although I don't feel that great about it, to be honest. But it's on there now. It's locked in, number 10, Starfield.
Well, my number 10 is also Starfield.
A perfect spot then. I was mistaken. Perfect.
I feel great about it being on my list, but I actually thought it was going to be higher originally. Played quite a bit of this game. And, it has faded from my memory a fair bit since I put it down, but I beat it. I thought that the main quest line was a little, I don't know what the word is. It was a little lacking in the middle. I thought it got better at the end. And I do like the main, like you said, the main mystery. But, some of the, like, there's these powers that are involved and stuff, and all that stuff just felt like they didn't really use it, felt kind of throwaway. But for me, what really worked was the feeling of a galaxy to explore, going to different planets. Who knows what you'll find? And sometimes it's just a random building full of enemies that you're going to kill, but you might find some good loot. I don't know. There was always a hint of something around the corner that kept me moving on in the game. I really liked the ties to like NASA stuff and all of that. Putting aside the quote unquote NASA punk, but they actually do work it into the story a bit. And I just thought, I haven't really. I don't hate Bethesda. I've barely played. Skyrim is probably the one game I've put a bunch of time into. But I think the space setting, I just wish there was more kind of big RPGs in a sci-fi world instead of fantasy. I think there's still not enough of that as a setting. And I think that's what got me here.
Yeah, there's also a few things that bothered me a little bit, like the inventory I hate the over encumbered. It absolutely drives me up the wall. And of course, very first mission, I'm over encumbered like right away, and I'm pissed off, and then I'm constantly inventory managing. But the other thing I saw some people complaining about was like the star map and how you're like fast traveling. And I don't mind that. Like, I don't need to be traveling in a ship for like 15 years because I'm exploring the galaxy to get from point A to point B. Like, just jump me over there. I don't care. I'll see whatever it has to show me when I get there, kind of thing. So I don't know. Some things like that didn't bother me at all, and I think it's fine that they have all that fast travel so early in the game.
Yeah, I had no problem with it.
My number 10 is Dave the Diver.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly thought this game was going to be higher on my list.
Me too.
I put a lot of time into it, and full disclosure, at one point, perhaps just before we recorded this episode, I was going to put Dredge and Dave the Diver under one entry in my list.
Number 10s?
No, it was actually going to be coded a little higher.
I kind of wanted to encourage that in you, Frank, but I know you would have hated yourself later, so I think you made the right choice.
And I was going to rationalize it with they have shared DLC where they were doing crossover deal.
Of course. There you go. That's a good
rationalize this idea. But I went against it, and I mean, this is kind of a spoiler. Dredge will be higher on my list. The two big fishing games this year, which I loved both. And the things I love about Dave the Diver also became my annoyances with it, where it starts off with you fish, then you do the sushi restaurant. That game loop I really liked. And then would have these one-off boss fights, mini games, like weird stuff happening all the time. And I love that. It really like broke up the pace and added these story elements that I loved. But towards the end, those bosses and mini games became less polished, more annoying. When I just wanted to get to the end of the game, it started to drag towards the end. And I really did love the game, but there's almost too much in it, is my complaint with Dave the Diver. The longer I played it, the more I felt like now I'm doing farming and other things and a second restaurant and all this stuff. And I'm like, I kind of like the simple version of this game, and kind of wish it stuck closer to that. But I still really enjoyed it. Debating, of course, played it on Steam, just got announced for PlayStation today. So do I wait and platinum it again on PlayStation? Got to do that Godzilla DLC. But I love the art style. I have not mentioned that. The look of the creature and the loading screen every time you see one of the fish, and the cards. Oh my God. I love the look of the cards, and specifically the foil cards for the bosses. Oh, my heart skips a beat every time I go to that app on the phone. Absolutely beautiful. So I think it's Mint Rocket is the team. Absolutely beautiful art. And the cutscene art is also very what's the word? Endearing or
enticing?
No, it's like it's endearing. It just makes me want to love the game.
Also has a good humor to the game also.
Yeah, I actually think the fishing itself is not that much fun. That's also a reason why it's number 10. The act of aiming the gun and switching, I found it to be clumsy at times.
Okay, my number 9 probably should be higher, but it's going to be Baldur's Gate 3. And this game I've played maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours of, so barely scratching the surface. But I was pleasantly surprised by the characters I've run into so far and the turn-based battles. When I first heard about this game, I didn't realize it was turn-based battles. I thought it was a typical, real-time strategy type Baldur's Gate style game. So when it was turn-based, it made it much more interesting to me, and I've really been enjoying the battles. Now there is like quite a big learning curve, and boy, you better be saving, or you will lose a lot of practice or a lot of progress. I think I talked to you, Frank, like that first little like tough area. I probably did that 4 times only because I kept dying and forgetting to save.
Oh, I've done it 3 times.
I go all the way back.
And I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, so that was the one downfall. You got to really like retrain your brain to be auto-saving or saving all the time.
I've got an idea. Game. How about you train me so I know how to play your game rather than dying all the time? Has that occurred to game designers? Like this, I appreciate the as you can't tell, it's not on my list. I've tried to force feed this game so many times, and it's like, if you've never played Dungeons and Dragons, what's your chance at this game? I don't know. It's too much.
Opaque.
I would There's kill for a optional learn everything about these systems section of this game or tutorial. I think that's what I would need to get into this game. And it just falls under, unfortunately, at this point, I feel like I'll regret it in 6 years when I get it, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, I find that with the die rolls during like conversations, I kind of like that aspect versus sort of like the Mass Effect, like, oh, your points aren't high enough. At least you have a chance to, achieve something you may not be, that skilled at. So I really like that dice roll aspect. I like that they don't hide it, even if it's probably like, they show the dice rolling and then they're like, oh, you got it or didn't get it. So I actually really like that aspect of the conversation trees that can happen. And I haven't gone far enough where like characters, come back, but so far the few characters I've come across have been really interesting personalities, and you get the feeling like I don't really know if they're lying or telling the truth, which is pretty hard to achieve in games, I find. So I thought the voice acting was really good and really, really like portrayed the game in a good light. And after I finish one of the other games on my list, I will be coming back to Baldur's Gate 3 for sure.
Yeah,
Nice.
I would love to love this game the way other people do. I'm too dumb. I'm too dumb for Baldur's Gate 3.
We got to play some D&D. It's got to happen this year. Like,
I think that would help. And I think the one theme of my list I was thinking about today, and I guess what I gravitate to in game design, which you can call me a dummy or whatever, simplicity. I like simple, elegant design. That's what I get off on, man.
hey, I'm with you on that for sure.
Complexity in games just turns me off in rules. And I understand that can be a draw for some people.
Yep. So my number 9 was, I think this was the last addition to the list. I don't want to say last minute because it was like a month ago, but Chants of Sonar, which I know Frank had commented that he had played a bit of it, didn't quite click for him. And I kind of like, I liked when I initially started playing it, and then there's some stealth sections in the game, not that many, but that was kind of, I don't know, I kind of bounced off that a little bit. But I came back to it, and then I got hooked, and it did for me have the same pull as the case of the Golden Idol, because it's a puzzle game, but it's a language deciphering game. And it's kind of, I found it similar in that there's sort of this process of elimination where it's like you have these symbols, and there's like they give you like these pages that kind of have pictures on them, and you have to match the symbols to the picture, and then it will tell you what the actual word is. And until that happens, you can kind of guess what the words are. You can fill your own guess in, but you might be wrong. And so sometimes it's like you're looking through and you're like, okay, well, it's got to be this one. And so there is that element of sometimes you have to guess, but a lot of times it is about, taking all the information you have and making an educated guess. And I just got really hooked on that. I mean, it's kind of the story is drawing from like the Tower of Babel story. And it's just this idea of like these different societies with different languages based on, what is important to them, and kind of trying to figure out ways to bring them together. I thought it was really cool, and had a great time with it. What's that?
You beat it?
Yeah. 100%ed it.
Oh,
I mean, not
I
that it was that hard.
The rules too nebulous. Like the words are interpreted in such a loose way. I've discovered over the past few weeks, I like rigidity in my puzzle rules, like right and wrong, not like kind of guessing at what things might be.
Stiff,
but
not soft.
Yes, very stiff
rules.
But do you not find, in case of the Golden Idol, there is guesswork involved?
It's exact words. You know what those words are, and they go into certain blocks. It's not, it could be this. You could interpret that word in 2 ways and all this stuff.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's the case in Chants of Sonar. Like, I think there is between the languages sometimes like different words can be used for the same thing.
And I'm like, I can't say specifically what I was like. Nah, I'm not buying that. that version of what I saw there in the picture does not match how I would interpret it. And we don't need to. We'll be here.
Okay. I did want to bring up one quick thing about this game, though. I heard this described as a Metroidvania, which, I guess is a genre. Some people are using this word to describe games kind of like The Witness, where it's like an open, interconnected world where there's puzzles and your kind of knowledge is the thing that's gating your progress as opposed to special abilities. So I love it. I absolutely love this term. So just wanted to bring it to Frank's lexicon.
I don't mind it. I know my face might have said something else. I don't like it. And maybe we can eliminate the other word with that word, and we're good. The whole reason why Metroidvania existed was to create Metroidvania, and then we can all use Metroid. Like, okay, my number 9, a game that I thought was going to be way higher on my list, Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And my first few hours with this game were a wondrous dream, and I was having a lot of fun with it. As I continued through the game, I did everything in the game except for that stupid section of the last final challenge with invisibility, which is the worst thing in a Nintendo game ever. Sorry, second worst. They're pretty close, this and the jump ropes in New Donk City. But it just got a little repetitive and not so wondrous as the game continued, and pretty easy. Not a lot of bosses, pretty straightforward level design. It's a fun game. It's as we've said many times, probably the most polished game I've played in a very long time, which I appreciate, but a very good game. I wouldn't call it a great game, and lower mid-tier Super Mario Brothers game.
My number 8 is Cocoon. Really solid puzzle game. I'm positive it's going to be higher on Frank's list. And I really was impressed, especially with some of the later puzzles, how clever they were. Very simple, but also great. Like, I don't mind simple games. I found the, dream within a dream type mechanic, whatever you would call that.
Recursion?
Recursion of the areas. Pretty cool and pretty neat and pretty intuitive once you kind of figure it out the first time. It's really not that complicated. It looks complicated in a trailer, but it's not that complicated once you figure it out. And I really like this game. I thought it was really well designed. Maybe wanted a little bit more, which is why it's maybe a little lower on my list in terms of just design and stuff. But I was really impressed with this game. So number 8, Cocoon.
Very cool. My number 8 is Viewfinder. Seems like the theme so far is games that we thought would be higher on our lists. Thought this might have been higher on my list, and I was really excited to play it. And I did really like it, but I just it was a little shorter than maybe I would have hoped, even though I do like short games. And it story-wise, I don't know, something about it didn't blow me away. But that main mechanic of kind of being able to take a picture of something and then overlay a 2D image that then becomes 3D, and the different ways they play with that is very cool, very unique, and I had a lot of fun with it. I'd be down for a sequel. So that's my number 8.
Yeah, I think the other theme for this year is very strong puzzle games. Viewfinder's not on my list. I did 100% it. Cocoon is on my list, and a game that isn't on my list that I really enjoyed, or I haven't played enough to decide. I just got into it last weekend. Humanity on PSVR 2 is a really good puzzle game, and I think if I'd played it earlier, it would have been on my list if I could finish it. But these puzzle designers and Viewfinder exhibits this extremely well, limiting options. It doesn't just keep expanding to the repertoire of moves. It gives you some, then takes them away, and then uses them in combination. So designers are really getting really good at not overwhelming players with options, which can be a problem in puzzle games. So, very good design. It's a good game. I agree. It's like the story itself. There's some story elements that I don't even remember what they were really, and the stuff with the cat and the world. I didn't really like that stuff all that much. Wasn't bad, just it was okay. My number 8, and I struggled with where to put this one on my list or to even have it on my list at all, is Venba. And often in top 10 lists in games, there's short games or small indie games that are kind of indie darlings, and I play them and I don't quite understand why they're that popular. Well, I kind of know why, but I don't game-wise, they're not that good. Venba is very short, and out of all the 2-hour-ish type games I've ever played in my life, it was by far the best. Like, by the time it felt like a movie, in the sense that after that 2 hours was done, I thought I could do the 2 hours again, and debated, do I just want to burn through this game again? Because I really enjoyed the story, and I think there might be more depth to the story. And it felt like kind of a movie-ish type game to me, and really good storytelling. And the cooking mechanics are simple but memorable and fun. And I will say the reason it's on my list I don't think I'm forgetting anything. I'm pretty sure this is the first game in my life that has made me drop tier, like legit tier. So
huge.
I always hear about, oh, this game made me cry. And I'm like, no game's ever going to make me cry. I guess I doubt it, but it has happened. This game has a genuine, heartfelt story, and I really enjoyed it. So, Venba.
It's an honorable mention for me, not on my list, but it's one of those games that probably would have been a number 10 on my list any other year, but there's too much stuff. So, but I really liked it as well.
I'll have to try that game. My number 7 is Super Mario Brothers Wonder, or Mario Brothers Wonder, whatever the name of the game is. I haven't made it that far, to be honest. World 3, World 4, maybe. So I'm, less than halfway. And I was liking everything I came across, though I did find that I didn't really feel compelled to go back to it. A lot of the stuff was fine. I think kind of Frank's synopsis was better than mine. I never got to any of the end game content. That was frustrating, but I'm still very impressed with how much stuff just Nintendo can come up with and use one or two times. And there's all these, what do they call them? The stamps or whatever that give you those special boost powers. And it's kind of neat that they come up with all these little mechanics, and obviously when they're doing their level design, they have to try to take into account some of them or a handful of them each time. So pretty impressive. But I would say there's just other games that stole the show this year. So Mario Wonder, number 7.
Okay, my number 7. This is the only game I didn't beat, but it has been mentioned already. Baldur's Gate 3, which, there was a stretch where I was really into this game, and I don't know how much I've actually played, probably between 20, 25 hours, something like that. And I did go back to it a couple times, but it's one of those games where it's like you get a bit further from it and it seems that much more daunting. Like when I'm in it, I was really enjoying it and playing it every night. And then if you leave it for a bit, it just feels like a lot to go back to. And I think part of that is the complexity that Frank was talking about. But I did, because of the D&D element, I really liked a lot of the stuff. Like, not that I knew what everything was, but I think I just had enough of an idea that it felt like playing a tabletop role-playing game in video game form more than anything I've ever played before. They really just captured that. And like you were saying, Huck, like the idea that, games like this, usually like there's skills and stuff that make sense in when you're actually playing D&D, stuff like the social skills and the like mental skills. But in games, you're usually like, that stuff's crap. I don't use that. I just want combat, whatever is going to make combat better. But they really go out of their way to give you options for all those other things too. So I thought that was really cool. I thought the story, what I've seen of it so far, really hooked me. And just the combat, this strategic element of the combat. So I do really want to go back to it, but it was one of those games that I was just like, okay, like I could try to finish this, or I could play like 5 other games. So I do hope to go back to it though.
Okay. Second, sorry. My number 7 is Dredge. Another fishing game. This one's got a bit more of a horror vibe. I guess I preferred partially the brevity of Dredge, although I forgot to mention when you talked about stealth in what game was it, Sean? The Chance of Sonar?
Yes.
I'm so sick of everything adding stealth modes to their game. Enough with stealth. Stealth is boring. Stop. Please give up on stealth. And Dave the Diver had a bunch of stealth stuff towards the end that I was fine with it once as kind of a one-off thing, but it was happening way too much and it was not fun. Dredge, probably a simpler like mini game fishing mechanic, but I love the vibe. Once I got into it, I played it continuously. Until I was done and 100%ed it, and really liked the world, the boat mechanics, and kind of this obstruction of your vision at night and the economies of this kind of construction management simulator, I thought were really original. So fun game, underrated game. And just a reminder, available, I think it's still available for PlayStation Rewards purchase on that app, if you have any.
At a discount. Or I guess with the points, right?
Yeah.
If you're a big spender like Frankie over here.
Well, you can also earn free coins with some weekly challenges and stuff like that. So gotta get on that PlayStation Star.
I am. I'm trying, but I just can't earn them like you earn them, buddy.
Just gotta fire up the games, man. That's all I do.
Those are usually
I think I have to buy more games.
Yeah, it's just the aesthetic kind of trophies or whatever they're called. If you play stuff, it's usually for buying, but there's an occasional.
Yeah. I think you get like 50 coins for a thing, but you get like 1,000 coins for buying something. So
yeah, it's
a little bit lopsided in the buying category.
Yep.
It doesn't reward library borrows, you know? My number 6 is Sea of Stars. A little RPG, kind of Chrono Trigger-esque, kind of we're talking about Bravely Default and Octopath Traveler-esque as well. Really enjoy the combat mechanics. Again, have not beat this game. I know it's a bit of a long one, but I was really enjoying the art style, really enjoying the characters. I was really enjoying the combat mechanics, especially. I think that's what's really going to carry this game, or what really carries this game for me. And the strategy in each combat fight you get into keeps you engaged the whole time. You're never button mashing. If you button mash, you're going to lose. And I think also the like knockout aspect of it. So if you make a mistake, you're not like completely punished right away. Really enjoy that combat loop. And I think it really carries the game pretty far. Nice.
I mean, thought that would be higher too. So curious what that top 5 is going to be.
I've been struggling with the playtime. So I like a lot of these games I need to just knock down because I just haven't put in the amount of time I feel is necessary.
Yeah.
I kind of thought Sea of Stars was going to be way higher on my list as well. It was, the more I played it, it got a little repetitive for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my number 6. It's probably the only game on my list that's like, I really haven't seen it on many other lists. Whether that's because it's overlooked or what, I don't know. But Talos Principle 2, which I was a big fan of the first one. I feel like first one is known and people are into it, and it's kind of, in terms of Portal-esque puzzle games, people know it and like it. This one, it feels like it's bigger. Like feels like it took me longer to beat the game, and it introduces this idea of like you have these robot guys that are kind of helping you explore the world, and then there's dialogue with them. And there wasn't really dialogue in the first game. I think there was like these consoles that you kind of log into, and you get bits of lore that way. This has that as well, but there's this dialogue element to the game, which at first there was a lot of that, and I was like, I don't know, maybe this is too much talking and I'm not that into it. But it started to bring out the themes a little more and just these little philosophical tidbits that make you think. And I started to really like that stuff. So that was a nice kind of in between the puzzles. You had little bits of other things to think about. And I just thought, it's a beautiful looking game. And really enjoyed it. Lots of interesting new puzzle mechanics. And I recommend it if you're into that kind of thing. Feels like, maybe people don't know it or aren't aware it's out there, but check it out.
Yeah, I've not played either Talos Principle game, so guess I got it now. Number 5, Sea of Stars, as Huck just mentioned, or no, 6. Sorry, I'm going ahead. Oof. Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
Whoa! Spoiler.
I actually didn't think this was going to make my list, and The more I thought about it, and after our discussion, I liked it more. And I cannot deny, once I committed to the game, I played it like every day, a few hours a day until I did everything in the game. And that says something about a game. And I never got frustrated. The way I did with Mario Wonder and Dave the Diver, it was a smooth experience. Maybe it's not higher on my list because it's very similar to previous entries, but still a very good game. So Marvel's Spider-Man 2, number 6. Pardon me for skipping ahead.
My number 5 is Dave the Diver. I haven't played as much as Frank. I haven't got to the farming. I haven't got to the second sushi shop. But
it's very late in the game, the second shop, just for the
okay.
Might even be spoiled.
Okay. Oh, well, that the game loop, though, for me of fishing and then fishing again and then going into the sushi shop and setting your menu and finding your employees, picking your employees, training them up. I just find it so engaging. Now, when I play this game, I'm not playing it like Frank. I'm not putting in like 6-hour sessions and then crushing it in 2 days. I'm playing like 1 or 2 runs and then taking a couple of days off and then playing 1 or 2 runs. And I find whenever I come back to it, I'm loving it again. I was debating actually putting it higher on my list. I just really enjoy the loop that much. It's really fun. I like the upgrade paths of the gear and the weapons. I think the weapons is a little weaker, I find. Yeah. I upgraded like 1 weapon and I'm like, I don't really need to upgrade anything else here.
By the end game, there's really only 2 weapons that become useful. And I actually found certain weapon upgrading elements too hard to find. Like it became an annoyance to upgrade weapons.
Yeah. So I mostly like finding, I like how much other little shit they have. Like you're talking about the cards and they have the little like find sea urchin stuff for the eco dude or whatever. And take pictures of stuff you find. And also like the events where you have to like, we're having like a tuna special or like a jellyfish special. So go get a lot of those. So then I load up on all that stuff and take it back. And, just getting like giant, what do they call it? The cargo, whatever the thing that increases the size of your inventory. All of those upgrades are very achievable if you just do decently, I would say, in the shop, in the sushi shop. So it's really easy to just constantly be able to get enough space to buy lots and lots of stuff. I find I haven't found that money's been an issue yet. I never ran into a case where like in Subnautica where you like, okay, I cannot go any deeper because I need to upgrade my depth thing or whatever. In this game, I've never run into that problem. I had so much money, I was just buying those upgrades and never ran into a depth issue. I don't know if you did, Frank, but
I did actually. I'm wondering how sometimes I wonder while I'm playing that game if I fully understand how much money you make in the sushi shop, but it wasn't a huge issue for me. Were
you enhancing your items?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I like in terms of setting the menu items, and then I found out very late about this auto feature. I didn't really know what that meant.
I don't know what that is.
I actually think I enhanced too much at times, and I don't know if you should always enhance when you have the option. But I guess that's another reason why it's lower on my list. I still didn't fully think I grasped all the economies by the end of the game.
Mm. Yeah, I don't, but I really like it, and number 5. Number 5.
I still love it. It's a great game. I put 35 hours into it, so must like
nice.
It. I actually did it more like you. I never did a lot of long sessions. It was just
okay.
I usually did a couple days at the most, and that was it.
Yeah, I think that's the right amount. Like, any more than that, I can see it getting stale. It's a really fun game to just kind of come back to every once in a while.
Yeah.
Very cool. Still haven't played it. I guess I need to play it. My number 5, a game that might be higher on a couple other lists, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Hmm.
And I feel like I have to justify why it's only at number 5, but I don't think I do. Like 5 is great. It is a great game. I just a few boss fights towards the end frustrated me, and it wasn't a perfect experience for me, but I loved the story. I loved the characters. Oh, they just compared to, what they've done from Fallen Order to this game, just like they polished everything, they improved everything. Uh, it's just, I think one of the best, if not the best, Star Wars game ever made, and it was great. I loved it. I just had a couple issues.
I hope there's no issues with 4 through 1.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, man, I'm fucking asleep at the wheel here, boys.
Get late.
I already said
You already know what it is.
Sea of Stars by Sabotage Studios. I really thought this might be number 1 when I started playing, and I love the combat system as well. I just found there's times where I was presented guarding scenarios from the enemies or like certain combos that are absolutely unachievable. It's just like, I can't even do anything about this. I don't know if it's randomly generated or even when it feels like it's supposed to be a choice between which enemy you do it first, there's no way of doing it perfectly. And it kind of got frustrating. And I generally, same as Mario RPG, certain enemies and certain spells and attacks, when you have to hit A at the right time, I don't know what that time is. And there's certain things by the end of the game, I still didn't know the right time when I'm supposed to press A on some of this stuff or what my windows are for pressing A. So I think if those small issues had been ironed out, it might have been in the top 3. But I overall did really enjoy the aesthetics, the story, and the vibe. Sabotage is always doing really creative ideas, and I can't wait to see what that studio makes next.
Indeed. My number 4 is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which I actually, I don't know if I might have force fed it up here a bit, to be honest. I really enjoyed the level design. I thought it was really great, but I was actually a little disappointed with the lack of spectacle. Like, I still remember spectacle moments from Fallen Order. I don't remember that many spectacle moments other than that one drilling machine from this game. Like, the end boss, not very memorable. The guy with the one arm is only memorable because he's got the one arm. I don't really know anything else about him. Even the thing you were talking about, Frank, where you're like, have you gotten to the hangar? I remember we were talking about as when I was originally got to the drilling machine. I still don't know what that hangar moment is you're talking about.
It's when all the STs are coming in, and it's like, it's story wise pretty critical. There's an attack on a pivotal location, and
okay, I know what you're talking about then. Now
that's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's still kind of the same thing. I'm thinking of like in the first one when you're driving the like AT-AT walker and stuff. That's like true. That. Like, there's nothing like that. I remember
certain boss. I don't disagree that I like the boss fights in the first game more.
Yeah. So, but I do agree. The level design is incredible, much improved from Fallen Order. The combat I think was much more approachable in this one, and I don't know. I felt like this was another case where they're just like adding stuff for the sake of adding stuff. Like the blaster stance, I never used.
Oh, I love the blaster stance.
Did you? I found it was so slow and cumbersome. And then the other one, like the broadsword type stance, I would use that occasionally, but it wasn't like my go-to. And I found I just kind of kept with
it's called options, bud. Play the way you want. I guess
so. I know, but I don't know. I found I just felt like it was kind of like, okay, how can we improve this? Okay, let's make it like a broadsword. Let's make it super long. Even though it's a lightsaber and it's made of light and it weighs nothing, let's now make it weigh 100 pounds. Like, it makes no sense from a. Come on, Star Wars let's get into the science of Star Wars. Come
canon, dude.
Makes no sense. But a laser sword does. Yeah. So number 4, Jedi Survivor.
You're up, Sean.
Do we lose him? Is he
Oh,
gone?
me.
Yeah. Okay. No, we didn't lose him.
I was like,
Thanks
thanks for taking the wheel again.
Trying to put me on blast. I'm like, I'm looking for him.
Okay, my number 4, Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Better than Jedi.
Yeah, I had the opposite experience you did, Frank. I started off thinking it's okay. I'm not really seeing anything special, and the more it went on, the more I was loving all of the different Wonder powers and effects and things that you experience. And I do think they were borrowing from some other games, but the way they kind of inserted them into the levels and just how kind of unexpected and unpredictable they were, I thought it was great. I even liked the stupid hide and seek stuff. I didn't try for the super difficult stuff. So I do agree it was a little easy. Didn't really bother me, to be honest. I enjoyed like trying to get all of the stars or whatever in the levels, but I didn't care to try and do the what's the area called, the
Flower World or Special? I think just Special World.
Yeah, like I did a few, and it was like, okay, cool to know that it's there, but
it's definitely the most fun part of that game. 100%.
Well, maybe I need to play it, but I still love the rest of it. So
you can't handle it. I'll tell you right now.
You're
not made for that world.
It's for real gamers.
My number 4 is Cocoon, and I love the world, the art, the vibe, the length, and mostly the design. It has that recursive element that Huck touched on. And when I agree, when I saw the initial videos, I'm like, this looks like too much. And I encourage people to look up the prototype for this game, which is basically like this simple top-down block versions of all the puzzles, or one of the puzzles as a prototype, and nothing like the final look of the game at all. And it's got the best kind of like, it gates the game so well so that it limits what options you can do. So in a game with that recursive element, you could just get lost in a sea of options. It is so good at restricting what the player can do geographically.
Yeah.
And it has like all these like mechanisms where you have to leave something behind so you don't have it. And I'm in awe of the designers of this game. They are so good.
That brings up a good point. Like, especially the parts where you get like three of the balls that can do different powers, and you're kind of, they give you the illusion that you can go anywhere with these things, but you really can't.
Yeah.
And if you go down one path, you get blocked, or if you go down the other path, you can only make it so far and you have to come back. Like, it's really quite smart design.
It's a word I don't use often. It is brilliant game design. And I've designed game stuff before, and puzzles, not easy to design, and they were crushing it. And I can only imagine. I probably should be higher on my list if I'm being honest, but I think there's just more to offer in my top 3 is really all it comes down to. But I loved Cocoon.
I'm interested. Well, I know one of them, but I don't know the other 2 for you. Kind of interested. My number 3 is Final Fantasy 16, which I have also not beat, but this game has really sucked me in with its world, with its characters, how good looking it is, the spectacle moments I've come across so far, the music. I'm enjoying the combat a lot, even though it's fairly simplistic, I think. But I really am just enthralled in this world that they created for this game. So I'm loving it. It's right up there, number 3.
All right. Sean, it is your turn.
Thanks, Frank. My number 3 is Cocoon, which I don't know. It's been talked about twice already. Don't have too much more to add, but just really well-designed puzzle game. Just kept playing it and kind of breezed through it. It was, never got frustrating, never got bored, it just felt like the perfect length. And And yeah, just I thought it was a fun mechanic that they played around with, and I liked the visuals and kind of the I just like it is X Limbo Inside developers, yeah, and I just like their style of like puzzle games where it's like you kind of they don't tell you exactly what to do, you just kind of through playing the game you figure it out.
But there are limited options, so
right,
you're not overwhelmed, which is nice.
yeah, but it's like it doesn't really require pages of text setting everything up or anything. It's just like play the game, you'll understand, and it's great design.
My number 3 is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which might seem a bit high. I deliberated a lot about this, and I guess the story of my 2023 was open world Zelda. I spent 220 hours playing Zelda games that are open world. So clearly something is resonating with me in both of those games at some point. As I've said, I finally got it to some degree. And I think Tears of the Kingdom, the first 4 temples, dungeons, whatever you want to call them, are so strong. Classic Zelda. And then there's a little section there that just rubbed me wrong. And part of that I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt of burnout, that I just played so much Zelda that since that wasn't super strong to me, it felt like, spinning my wheels a bit, or it is bad design. Don't get me wrong. I think those sections in Hyrule Castle and where you assemble something are kind of frustrating design elements. And I'm not big on the depths, but I just kind of chose not to party there too much. But the ending is amazing. And it finally was the year that I appreciated open world Zelda. So it has to be pretty high on my list.
Right. Nice. Forgot it was me this time. Good. My number 2, which has been absent but from many lists, which I think is a shame, Hogwarts Legacy, which I really, really enjoy. I still have not beat it, but I'm very far. I've put in 40 plus hours, almost 50 hours into this game. And the world they build of Hogwarts and the surrounding areas is really amazing. Of how they captured the films, and just the feel and the vibe of the world is really incredible. They had a lot of attention to detail. It's really a shame that this game seems to gone under the radar everywhere. I really think that the combat and stuff is not overly complicated, but it's fun. They have like a bunch of spells you can use, so you kind of customize your attacks however you want. And it's also engaging. Like there's a lot of shields that you need to break that are certain colors, I guess you call them. So you have to use specific spell types to break those barriers, and then you can attack more thoroughly. But there's so much stuff to find. There's so many quests to take that are, not just basic little simple fetch questy things. They're a little more interesting and give you a little more personality. And it's not just like, take the carrots to Bob in the field or something like that. So I don't know. I really dig this game.
Carrots to Bob quests in Final Fantasy 16.
I can't wait for them. I can't wait.
I think there literally is like taking carrots or
awesome.
The equivalent of carrots in that.
I can't wait to get there. But yeah, this game has just sucked me in. I really, really enjoy it. And I think it's being snubbed by a lot of press just because of the J.K. Rowling connection, and people don't like her, which is a real shame because I think this game's really excellent. So number 2, Hogwarts Legacy.
It was a big year for Magic stuff too. Like that game, Final Fantasy 16 really leans into Magic. And then 2 games that got cut from my list, Final Fantasy 16 and Forspoken, and 3, that are, I didn't fit. I started playing it recently. Immortals of Avium also are like these Magic based action games that it was a real Magic renaissance, but nothing made the cut for me, but they're all pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, Hogwarts Legacy, wasn't that the best-selling game of the year. Wasn't that?
I think so. It's still very high on sales charts whenever they come out. And it came out in, I think, February.
I think so, yeah.
That's long tail.
And they had like re-releases, like the Switch version and all that stuff that came later. So
yeah,
lots of platforms too.
I've been close to purchasing it many times, and somehow something else always comes out that takes my attention away. But
I guess the 40 hours, like when you said you put a lot of, I know when it came out, you were like so into it.
Yeah.
And like what stopped like, or got you away from it, I guess?
The house renovation.
Oh, you're much. I thought you were going to say. I thought you were saying you have to build a house or like your school or something.
No. My house, my personal house renovation. So the house was just in disarray, and so like my wife and I were playing it together, and we were super into it because there's also some like not house management, but you can like plant plants and gain stuff. So and you have like a pet zoo, basically. You can create, you can like, what do you call it?
Creatures, Pokemons, and
Yeah. You kind of like maintain thing, and they give you like little perks for doing that, and then you use those to create stuff. So we were doing all that stuff. It was great. We were kind of like trading out the controller. It was very fun. And then the house renovation hit, and we went back to it a couple times recently and really enjoyed it, but it's not something we think about now picking up and playing. So we're pretty far into it. I think we're probably, 85% done the game completely, but just haven't kind of gotten back on the train of actually completing it. Kind of got derailed by that
85% like collectibles and stuff too, or just
like we're doing lots. So I mean the story, we're actually like kind of I'm doing a lot of the collectible stuff as I do the story stuff, which is not usually my style, but I'm right in there trying to get everything. So it's fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. Sean, you're up.
My number 2, Spider-Man 2. Which is, I admit, not a sexy choice, not a cool indie underground choice, but it just is a game that does everything right. And once you start playing, you want to keep playing, whether it's the story or all the different side quests and the variety of different activities in the game, and just the traversal and moving around the city. I mean, it all just makes you want to keep playing. And like I said on our review, I just think they have perfected all the stuff surrounding Spider-Man. I don't know. It feels like it'll be hard to top for Spider-Man 3 if and when they do that. But I really, really enjoyed Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's a really good game. My number 2, and pulling all of these narratives together a bit and referring back to my stats from 2023, was also not just the year of Zelda, but kind of the year of Nintendo, and specifically the year of Pikmin. And I, played Pikmin 1 and 2, and they brought out a lot of frustration in me when I played them. But I 100%ed them both, and I kept waiting to play Pikmin 3, never went on sale. And at some point in December, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just playing Pikmin 4. I don't care. I had a voucher to burn before it expired in February. I'm like, Pikmin 4 it is. And Corey had said it's like a really good game, possibly his game of the year. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a poke. And Pikmin 4, finally, any frustration, annoyance that's ever existed in Pikmin, reducing friction, as I've borrowed and like to say, this does it perfectly. It was so much fun, and it is long. I did everything in it, probably put 50 hours into it. I wanted to keep going until I finished it. I love the art, all the different Pikmins, how they limit options. You can only bring out 3 types of Pikmin at once, I think is a great decision. Might have been in Pikmin 3. Again, if some of the stuff is in Pikmin 3, I haven't really played that yet. But the dog, companion really helps a lot. It's a great option for keeping Pikmin together. Great level design. There are challenge modes now. Some are versus modes. Some are just how good are you at playing Pikmin? And I love those challenge modes. They're not too long. They're very refreshing and stressful. And they've kind of like switched the balance where the story mode is a little more relaxing. You don't have these day restrictions anymore, or you don't feel this pressure. And then the other elements are where you feel the pressure in the moment of these like kind of 10-minute or 5-minute sections. So I loved all my time with Pikmin 4. The only thing I'm not going to do, I'm not going back to get platinum on some of these challenges. I could barely get bronze on half of them. And I kind of want to go down that road, but I don't think it's even possible for me. My Dandori level is not, I do not exhibit high enough Dandori to complete those challenges. So really good game, also kind of under the radar, and 3 Nintendo games on my list this year. It was a very good game for Nintendo and a good year for Nintendo. And I kind of find like 2017, I just find Nintendo tends to release really great games all in one year. And I think this year had 3 of them. And the only thing, 2 big complaints, not even big, sorry, 2 minor complaints with Pikmin 4. The load times, so long. Going from my Steam Deck and PS5 to in between levels and dungeons, like loading on this game took forever. And the versus modes for the Dandori challenges are split screen. And I think that's to encourage like couch versus battles. But if I'm playing by myself, I do not want to be in split screen. I don't care what the other person's doing. If you want, put it in a little picture in picture or something like that. Oh, taking up half of my screen with what the AI is doing, garbage. Should not be in the game. But, I loved Pikmin 4. Huge surprise, last minute entry, and I'm very glad it made my list.
Cool. I mean, I still want to figure out what the draw of Pikmin is. It hasn't clicked for me. You were showing us the game a couple of weeks ago, and there was a glimmer of something there, but I still don't totally get it.
If there's any game in the series that will do it, it is certainly 4. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got the best pacing of the series, the least amount of repetition, and all the frustration has pretty much been eliminated. It's so good.
I have also never played a Pikmin game. I have no idea what the draw is either.
I always understood the draw. Like, I think the world is cute and appealing, and it was just I felt intentionally frustrating. And I'm hoping people probably shook Miyamoto and said, people get frustrated with our game. Can we make it fun to play instead? And, or he's phasing out of Nintendo. So they did. And it is.
Are we ready? Are we ready for the number ones?
Oh yeah. Well, I know them all. We know them all.
I think we know them all.
Do we? I don't know. I'm confused. My number 1 is Spider-Man 2, which I really, really enjoyed. I could not put this game down when we played it. I just found it addictive and really enjoyed the gameplay loop. I liked being able to switch between the characters. I mean, we talked about it a lot in our review, but I just really liked this game, and I thought there was a lot of neat moments in it, a lot of good mechanics, and just fun. Like they sanded off all the rough edges by taking away the mandatory crime type stuff, but still having them in there, keeping the like Peter Parker-esque side missions still in the game, but not making them last too long or be too many. Just so many. They kind of like took a page out of Nintendo, where we're going to just throw a lot of stuff at you and not overuse it, which I really appreciated. So my number 1 is Spider-Man 2 for this year. And I'm looking forward to Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 2.5 whenever it comes out.
Or perhaps a tangent game inspired by sections in this.
And looking forward to Wolverine whenever that comes out. So probably be very similar.
Yeah, hopefully. My number one is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, which is, beginning of the year or early half of the year. I thought it was obvious. I didn't really think anything was going to touch this, but then it was, it was a big year, and there were some things that challenged it. And but even Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like if I would have played it more, it could have been up there. It could have been number one or number two for me. But yeah, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I just, I love Breath of the Wild, and again, it's like, how do you follow that up? And it feels like Breath of the Wild, and obviously it's built on the bones of Breath of the Wild, but then there's just so much new stuff that you can do. And it is probably a little more focused on the puzzle and exploration stuff than any sort of combat, which I love. But then you get into the temples, or like the paths getting to the temples, and all that stuff is just so good and so fun and unique. And leading up to the finale, which is also great. I just sunk a lot of time into this game and loved pretty much every second of it. So
even the Hyrule Castle part,
I had no issues with it. Not saying that's the finest moment of the game, but I had no issues with it.
A little underwhelmed when you assembled a certain thing.
It was fine.
Backpack powers on that certain thing, or
yeah, that kind of sucks.
Just checking. Okay. My number one is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I swear to God, if I had nothing else going on in my life, I would have fired up Fallen Order, played through it again, and played through Jedi Survivor again before this show. I love those games, and I know this is going to be repetitive, but they took what was in Fallen Order, and specifically the level design that was so congested and frustrating at times, and just let everything breathe. And borrowing from, recent locomotion mechanics, dashes, and platforming elements that allow you to traverse space more quickly in this game, it just made the game sing. Having that room and that space, and being a little more open world, and some hub worlds, I thought was going to be a deterrent for me, but I think they're actually pretty well locked off into sub ideas, and their map system makes it pretty easy to identify, like they're almost individual areas in this open world. So I was less overwhelmed and kind of intrigued by the world building in that open section. So I think it looks great. I love the main character. Story, I personally didn't buy some plot elements, but I still admire it more than most video game stories, and the ambition of some of those choices and what it will mean for the sequel. I liked all the new powers. I generally always have enjoyed the combat, still not sick of it after playing Fallen Order 3 times, this one once. And I think I really need to go and play Titanfall 2, because Respawn are the best level designers working today, and I don't think it's even close. Their ability to lead a player without being confused, reconnect the level, still make it not obvious what you need to do, integration of puzzles, pacing, side quests, bounties. This game is not getting enough credit, and I think when the trilogy caps off, if it's a trilogy, whatever it is, I think people are going to look back on it very fondly in the future. So Jedi Survivor, mired probably mostly because of performance issues on release on PC. And I had some, but not that many. And it should not deter you from playing what is the best game of 2023.
Nice. Very cool.
Very cool.
So all right, let me ask you this though: was there a chance that Pikmin 4 took down Jedi Survivor? Was that ever a thought?
There was a thought.
Okay,
but the only reason was the distance of time from when I beat Jedi Survivor. And I was just like, I couldn't wait to 100% that game. I was frustrated by bugs when I got locked out of 100%, but as soon as that bug got fixed, I was right back in finishing it off, and I would have no problem starting that game tonight. And if I did, I'd play it all week. Kind of how I felt when I went back to Horizon Zero Dawn to confirm my thoughts about Forbidden West. So I love this series, and I can't wait to see what the next one has. Respawn, whatever you're doing for level design, don't listen to anyone else. Keep doing what you're doing. You are the best level designers on planet Earth.
Are you going to play Forbidden West on PC?
Oh, I don't want to go down. Well, then we'll save that. I could do a whole episode on that. I really could, on the thought process of revisiting Horizon.
Okay. I need to play Forbidden West too. I've never beat it. I just dabbled in it.
I'm like, well, in February and March, I'll do all this stuff. And now Dragon's Dogma 2's March. All these games are popping up in Rebirth in February. I'm like, I'm never going to get to this.
Yeah, it's true.
I need to game harder and harder. I need less sleep, less food, less everything, more games.
So did anyone play Alan Wake 2?
Oh,
because it was a obvious absence from all of our lists.
Yeah. I did not. I mean,
I almost forgot to bring it up. I'm glad you did.
Well, I was going to say I did have an honorable mention with the initials AW2 on my list, but it is not Alan Wake 2. It's Asgard's Wrath 2, which very nearly made my list, but didn't quite play it enough. Yeah, Alan Wake 2, I did give it another go, and it did not take. I wanted to be the hero that would come in and say, Frank's wrong. This game's amazing. It didn't happen for me. I'm not giving up on it, but I played a bit more, and it was a struggle. Frank. I found myself having to resort to using a guide, and that's never a good sign.
Exactly.
Is that an essay you wrote about Alan Wake 2?
I revisited. I kind of look like a serial killer with my notes here, but I was like, I'm going to start it over on PC. I bought it again. So I've supported this game twice on the Epic Game Store and PlayStation. And I'm like, I was following a collectibles guide, and it might have been deterring for my experience. I'm just going to play the game it's intended to be played. Fuck trophies, whatever. That's not fair to the game. So I played it again, and these are some of my notes, starting at the beginning. This game is about being a detective, yet I am told everything, whether it's the case board, you just put something in a matching spot, and then it's the character telling you everything about the game. I'm not discovering anything. I'm never drawing any conclusions. The case board is just a mechanism for reading. Really, there's no puzzle elements. It's not fun. And I'm always told, the design's bad and the level design is bad because it's telling you where to go all the time. When you infer things about people, what's it called? There's a word for it in the game. It's not the case board. You go and it's a person, and then you have some inference or deduction.
The mind palace?
It's in the mind place, but you draw conclusions about characters because you're such an amazing detective.
Yeah, I forget.
And it's just telling you stuff, and it's telling you in boring ways. The game doesn't let you discover anything yourself. I'm ahead of the game at times. I go and look in a cooler or a freezer, I should say, and there's nothing there. And then through a story element later, something's there later. So I figured out what I needed to do, but I'm ahead of the game and I'm punished for it. To the point where I'm like, I already looked there. I don't think there's anything there. But because there's these magic books that change the world, then all of a sudden there's no rules for this game. This game can change, and it's my fault if I don't keep up with it changing. again, not rewarding exploration as a detective. I go to coolers that I find, I explore, I find these hidden caches or like coolers that I'm like, oh, I'm going to get some items, and they're empty because they're used to spawn economies that you run out of because combat's so frustrating. And if you haven't entered combat, those coolers are empty. Thanks for punishing me, game. I'm glad I spent all this time exploring. Never mind the fact that when I explore looking for collectibles and I find them and then I die from some bullshit enemy teleporting in front of me and hitting me 3 times in a row, then I get sent back and have to do that all over again. Thank you, Alan Wake 2. So I'm reliving all these frustrations. And there'll be stuff on the map that says there's something there, but you're actually locked out of it from a story. I went to this town finally. I made it further in the game, and there's something on the map. I keep talking to them, and you're not even supposed to do that. And I had to keep looking up a guide to know what I'm supposed to do next in this game. And the pretense is that, well, it's because it's the narrative is revolutionary, and it's such an interesting narrative. And there are elements that are cool. The opening shot or how the game starts is awesome. The deer in the lake shot, I loved. And it looks great. I want to love this game, but in general, the storytelling and writing is like below average movie writing. It's not as cool as it thinks it is, and it's not as good as it thinks it is, and it's kind of annoying. So I don't know. I still might go back to it at some point, but I think my criticisms are valid of this game, and I'm surprised at how well received it is.
Well, here's an interesting little anecdote. I was listening to a podcast, not a video game podcast, where they were talking about just favorite things of the year. And one of the people brought up Alan Wake 2 is one of my favorite things of the year. Talked about this great experience, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, it's like, well, the combat and stuff's kind of frustrating. And there's some annoying things about it, but it's just great experience. And I was like, well, there it is. Like,
I guess if you don't care about gameplay, I could see how you could love this. It has got terrible level design. I've played through that forest area at the beginning of the game 6 times, basically. I've spent 10 hours in that forest and I still get lost in it. And I don't want to hear, well, it's a forest. You get lost. It's not. It's a park. There should be signs. You should know where things are in this place. There's literally a landmark of a mountain that's blocked by trees, and you can't. The whole point of that landmark should be to orient yourself in this place. It is terrible level design.
Yeah. I mean, did you do the subway section as well?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
the way it teaches you the capturing light mechanic is so bad because it doesn't tell you can capture more than one light. And all they had to do was put placeholder spots that you can hold more than one light on the HUD. And I would have known that. And it took me forever to figure that out. They are bad designers. I'm sorry, like really bad designers.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. Obviously people like different things about different games. So it's, I see some of the appeal, but, and I wish I could get into it. Maybe I'll give it another try at some point. But, I even liked the first one. I'm
airing frustrations because it's more about the perception versus reality in my case. I don't think it's like a horrible game. It's like a kind of like Control, 7-8-ish range to me. Feels about right. It's the game of the year stuff I just don't get. Baldur's Gate 3 I get. That game's just not for me. I play third-person action games, and I like deduction games like Case of the Golden Idol. I don't think this one does either one well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, like, is it even going for that? Like, it is more about this experience and this sort of like surreal, like horror experience. I didn't even like the idea of like how you take the different plot elements and plug them in to change the level. Like, it doesn't. Like, there's no puzzle or anything there. It's just kind of like randomly try different stuff.
Exactly. Thank you for bringing that up. The reshaping the story or writing the story as you go. It reminds me of LA Noire, an interesting idea with that, lying system, and it's not executed well enough. It's an interesting idea that is trial and error, as you said, Sean. I never like, oh, I know what story to switch to here. You're just trying everything.
Yeah.
Good point. I'm so glad you brought that up.
So yeah, I don't know. Are there any other quick mentions we want to do of games we didn't play or that we did that just didn't make the list? I mean,
I do kind of want to mention Final Fantasy 16 because I love the combat. It's simple combat and it is really good. The story is just so laborious, is the perfect word for it. And when you get into side quest content, oh, it is a drain on my life. If they would have like had half the side quests, it would have been top 5, 100% for me.
You know, you don't have to do those, right?
I have to do those. It's part of the game. And I do want to give a shout out to Immortals of Avium. I got to it late in December, and it's for what it is, it's really good. And I think it's also got slept on quite a bit. It's kind of like a Doom magic. It's very fast paced, good mechanics, a little repetitive. Like I can tell they're reusing ideas because they don't have a huge budget, but I want to beat it. It's a good game. And Forspoken, everyone hated. I 100%ed Forspoken and enjoyed my time with it. It's not amazing. The writing is annoying at times, but so is every video game. And I honestly don't see that big of a gap between Alan Wake 2 and Forspoken. And Humanity, great puzzle game that I wish I got to finish.
Yeah, I guess my other honorable mentions would be Diablo 4. Just didn't get around to finishing it, kept getting pulled onto other things, but I enjoyed it. Planet of Lana, which is another kind of limbo-esque puzzle platformer, and Venba, which we already mentioned. Any for you, Huck?
No, it's really just Alan Wake. I wanted to play Liza P. I don't know.
I did like Liza P a lot. I think that if I had stuck with that game, I don't really know why I didn't. It would have had a chance of making my list.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I guess I got stuck on Tears of the Kingdom, and I can't go back to it. I hate that dungeon I was in, and just not going back to it. So I did go back, I think, before Tears of the Kingdom came out and started playing Breath of the Wild again and just kind of exploring and trying to do all the little side things and was enjoying it. I like the exploration of that game. I don't like some of those temples. They're just too big. And I don't have the time to like sit down for 2 hours and keep it all in my brain and figure out where to go. So when I play for 30 minutes, save it, come back 2 weeks later, I have no idea what to do.
I almost have to relearn the whole temple again.
Yeah.
To do the next puzzle.
I don't know which direction I'm supposed to travel on these stupid fucking cartways they have. Like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It's a giant maze. I know I'm supposed to go up or down or I don't know, whatever, but like, I don't know how to get there anymore. So that aspect is just not conducive to my current style of playing games, unfortunately. So if I was just in the open world exploring, I like it, but the temples, the super large temples, I can't handle. So.
I will add, I liked what I played of the Dead Space remake, but Immortals of Avium, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, EA had a pretty good year. Wild Hearts got good reviews. I only played it briefly. I wish I had more time to try that game, but not a lot of buzz about it, but EA kind of brought it last year for me anyway.
Yeah, I'm just looking if there's any other major things that we just haven't even mentioned. I mean, I guess you brought up remakes, Resident Evil 4.
I did like what I played.
Metroid Prime Remastered.
No chance.
What about Street Fighter 6? Did anybody play that?
I did a bit. The open world stuff was okay. I don't know. I'm just not a Street Fighter guy. The two that I think we didn't mention are Hi-Fi Rush, which a lot of people liked.
Oh yeah.
I just can't get the rhythm stuff down. Not for me.
I did want to go back to that. Like I liked it enough that there was a chance. It could have been something I really liked. I just never got back to it.
I was also planning on returning to that, but after working on Soundfall for like 2 years, I'm kind of like, I've already played this game for a long time.
100%. Pizza Tower, which I did like quite a bit, but kind of annoyed me at times, but I would say it's a good game. There was one other one I saw here, Blasphemous 2, which a lot of people liked. It just, I have to play Blasphemous 1 before I can play it. And that was a mountain to climb.
And that also reminded me, like, this might be the first year in a long time I don't have a Metroidvania game on my top 10 list. Like, I don't even, like, Blasphemous 2 is the only one that kind of stands out as, like, I was, like, kind of wanted to go back to it. Oh, actually, that, what's it called?
Leica
Aged Through Blood. Yeah, I did go back to it and give it a bit more time, but I don't know. I could not. The combat just never really. Like, you could pull off some fun things where you're kind of doing backflips and reloading and shooting people, but then there were just sections where they would just put tons of enemies, and I was dying over and over again. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna happen.
I was not absorbing the controls properly. I think it has a lot of potential. I did like what I played, but I was like, I can't get over the hurdle. It's not intuitive to me. It doesn't feel like an extension of my thoughts. I'm struggling to translate what I want to do into the controls, which could be on me, in full disclosure. Cyberpunk DLC, I probably wouldn't have even considered it, but a lot of people like that. And I think those are the big ones. I've seen Jasant on a bunch of lists, but I played the demo, didn't like it. Talked to a listener of the show, my friend Brenner, and he's been playing it, but kind of told me they haven't fixed. He had similar issues, so didn't feel the need to revisit it.
I was playing it recently and thought it might sneak in there for me because I enjoyed it at first. But about halfway through, it wasn't so much the mechanics, the climbing mechanics, that I was having issues with. I just couldn't figure out where to go. Like, they give you like a little, like, flare in that'll show you kind of the general direction to go, and it still wasn't enough for me. So I don't know. I might finish it at some point. It's pretty short, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's mostly everything. Mortal Kombat 1, but I don't think that was on many lists and stuff. So, all right, we did it. 2023 in the books. Thanks. I was sick. Thanks for accommodating me, gentlemen. It's a late night, very long night. So I think Huck is fading. I'm just getting ready to go play some Prince of Persia after this. My game of the year for 2024. And Metroid likes are back in 2024, Sean.
There's a bunch coming out. So looking forward to it.
So let us know your top 10 for the year. Why I'm wrong about Alan Wake 2 in the comments on YouTube, youtube.com/Game Junk. Sean is Film Junk on X. Andrew is My Angry Commute and Equilibrium Sis. Discord links on the YouTube. Like, subscribe, all that bull poo. And we'll see you in 2024. It's already February. Have a good one. Bye-bye.